Welcome to Escaping Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hopes that we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week, leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory.
Yo, what's up? We're one episode closer to Purgatory, which is like,
we are.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's almost like the name of our show or something.
What?
But then we had to get through this one, which was just not good. It was just not good.
There were times when I had convinced myself it was good. I was like watching it and I was like, this is okay. But I feel like it's because like I hadn't watched Supernatural for a bit. I had to, took a little break from watching Supernatural in between podcast stuff. And I went back to it, I was like, I enjoyed this show. And then I remembered that I had to go talk about it for like an hour. And I was like, I don't know, like if it was actually good.
Yeah, like it was just such a weirdly paced eepisode.
Yeah.
Like it was just, and I think the thing, I'm jumping right to the end of the episode. I don't care. I did not enjoy the fact that we got this like switch of ideas of like what the plan was. Because clearly that meant that everybody had like did a shot of the Phoenix ash. But like, where did that idea come from? Like, nobody was talking about that in any kind of way.
Also, like, I read it was, like, only Dean who did it on the sly. No, because I think maybe that is the case, because they had 5 shells and there were 4 of them. So I feel like they each had a shell in their gun, but then Dean shot the 5th one.
Yeah.
If anyone was going to get bitten, it was him, because that's how the story works.
And of course it was his mum. And there was one joke in here that I was just like, ugh. But I thought, because, phoenixes rise from ashes, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I thought that as soon as they, like, opened the, like, I'm doing a rewrite.
Yeah.
As soon as they opened the bottle with all the ashes in it, like the dude comes back because he's like it takes him so long to regenerate, and then that was what would kill Eve or something. I don't know. Anything's better than what we got, I think.
It was a weird setup for a weird payoff, and like, okay, again, jumping to the end of this, I feel like the writers thought they were being really clever. And I don't think it quite worked. And I'm sorry. Because obviously this whole season we've been setting up for Eve being the big bad. And then kind of in this episode, we get the switcheroo of like, she's not actually the big bad of the season. Psych! No. And I kind of felt like they were trying to like pull the rug out from under you. Oh, maybe it's just because this is a rewatch. It doesn't work anymore. I don't remember being that shocked the first time round either, though. Because if you think about it, the next episode is The Man Who Would Be King, where they like explain everything that's gone on this season, and you get that like whole point of view from Cass about what is actually happening, where it's all been kind of kept from us. So I feel like it's almost like you need to... This is such a stupid statement, because you do. You need to watch this episode and then you need to watch the next episode together.
Right, like one after the other without a break.
To have the full impact, I think. Because we get the switcheroo of like, hey, Cass is a bad guy, maybe. And then you have to wait a whole week to figure out why. And I feel like you would have forgotten in that time. Unless you're like us.
Probably. And also, like, okay, so we're talking about season 6, episode 19, Mommy Dearest, written by Adam Glass. Mm-hmm. And okay, that's why this episode's not good. Adam Glass's episodes, I just don't like them.
Fair enough.
They're just not very good. Sorry. And it's directed by John Showalter. Walter. There were some nice shots in this, though it was definitely getting that new supernatural look very hard in this episode. Where, yeah, even though we were in like Eve Town for a while, that wasn't like an alternate universe. It was just she'd converted everybody, so it was very like it was very bright. I was very confused. But so another thing that I have issue with is she verbatim says it's about the soul, which is souls, which is what Death had said in 611. Yeah. I just looked it up because I can't remember which appointment in Samara. Yeah. And yet for 8 episodes, they have done nothing. Like Sam and Dean have done nothing about souls. And I think that's the thing that's really pissed me off about this season. Because we have 3 episodes after this? Yeah. 2 episodes? Well, yeah, 3, because 20, 21, 22. And it's suddenly we're going to be all about souls in the next 3 episodes when they've had all of this time to... I mean, fine, they did it with the Titanic episode, but that's such a joke of an episode. Yeah. That I don't know, you could skip it and like, I don't feel like you would miss anything. Not really.
This is why I feel like it's kind of like the writers trying to be clever and like, we were leading you all down this path and then this is, we're only going to show it to you now. Ha ha ha. Except like, I think it would have had more impact if this was like the mid-season finale of like, what? It's only half a season and they've already defeated the big bad? Like, what's going to happen now? Not like 3 episodes from the end of the season. I just think I think the pacing of this episode is off. I think you're right, because it's really slow for ages, and then like loads of stuff happened at the end, like for like super, super quickly.
Yeah, and like when it got to the 15-minute mark, I was like, wait, we haven't even come across Eve yet. Like, what's going on? Like, I thought it took a really long time to kill her, but no, it's just she just fizzles out, and you're just like, it's not satisfying because again, she was introduced the episode after that, which was Like a Virgin, 612, but she was not mentioned again until like 2 episodes ago.
Right. She's only actually in, I think, 3 episodes. So I don't know.
Like 15 minutes.
Yeah. I don't know how, are they paying this actress like per minute? Was she super expensive? I don't know. But I mean,
that's why she was switched out with Sam Smith.
Yeah, they wouldn't have to carry I mean, honestly, she gets no screen time for like a major character. But this episode, the pacing of it is how the whole season's been paced. Like nothing happened. Oh wait, everything's gonna happen now. Like, I don't know. It just we talked about it, I think maybe last episode or the episode before. I feel like it's kind of a victim of like network television where they kind of like need to pick up the pace at the end of the season because they know they actually got right into something rather than it's just going to end. But just like you would think, because Supernatural actually comes at the end of an era of network television, right? Like it's one of the last great shows that had like 20 odd episodes. So you would think that people who have worked on network television, which some of these people are, like would have gotten used to the season pickup thing, like how you write that kind of. So it's still satisfying.
And surely you would pitch it in a way, like I'm sure when Kripke had written Supernatural in the beginning, he maybe had pitched it as this is going to be a 5-season arc or 5, like this is going to be over, this story is going to be told over multiple seasons. Yeah. Whatever it is. So as you are now more of an established show, would you not also pitch it in that same way of like, okay, well, we have a 3-season story arc that we want to work on. Yeah. And of course, like things changed. Obviously, we saw it change in the first 5 seasons. Like season 3 was completely different because of the strikes and stuff. So they adapted. So you can still adapt, but like if you have that overarching story with one person leading it, I think that would have been better. And like I don't think they ever gave anybody the chance to really do that either.
I I mean, I think let's get into the episode, because there are some good bits of this, and there are some interesting bits of it, and there are some really funny bits of this episode. There is as well.
It's an iconic line comes out of this episode too.
There's a few. Yep, there's a few. Yep. So like I think so, because it's not all bad. But
no. Bad is just really bad, unfortunately.
Yeah, I do actually think so. Like, I think season 6 is still pegging to be my like worst season. Actually, I think maybe I just don't like change and like go from. I have to get used to new Supernatural. I need to new Who then, but that also was a transition for me. So like maybe you just have to get used to like new glossy Supernatural, and it's not dark and dank anymore, and it's just a bit of an awkward. This is its awkward phase. I feel like this is teenage Supernatural. Pre-teen.
Trying to get its footing.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely. Yeah. So we get the recap. And it's what I call like the C plot, even though I really think that's the A plot in the end.
Yeah.
Because it's like Crowley capturing all the creatures and like, I mean, that should have been the hint that was going to be the main plot all along, because that's the first thing we get introduced to.
Yeah.
The very first episode of this season is that's what they're doing. Anyway. And then talking about getting Sam's soul back, the betrayal of Samuel, and seeing Cass kill Crowley in that episode as well, of Caged Heat. And then Bobby being tortured at the end of And Then There Were None, and having the like Khan worm fall out of his ear.
Yeah.
Which I do. The Gesture and Starships. I love it. That was the best part of this whole episode. They also had a lot of the last episode.
Yeah.
Right? The Frontierland, the whole like standoff with the Phoenix.
Yes.
And getting the gun and all that. Well, not getting the gun, but meeting Samuel Colt and all that. And then at the end of the last episode, with them like having the bottle of ash, which I thought was really like, I didn't notice it at the time when we went through the episode, but in the recap, I was like, his shirt is still very clean.
He's still very clean. He's just a very clean person.
Yeah.
I will say this for against the episode about Adam Glass, is there is some good Destiel moments in this. And I really appreciate all the times that they're like, Dean and Cass go do something together in this episode. I really enjoyed it, because I feel like we haven't really had that. Like it at all.
No.
You know? Mm-hmm. But I like that.
Because Cass doesn't want to be with them.
Yeah. I do like the way they're kind of, this sounds awful. I'm so sorry to all my, like I ship it too, but this is true, okay? They're kind of like making Cass more of a friend in this episode, because they've treated him like crap this whole season, and now they're like, oh no, it's okay guys, they are actually all friends, so that, you know, the betrayal's gonna like hurt more. But I do feel like they ramped up in this episode to be like, they are actually friends though, like you have to, they have understanding on a deeper level, like they do interact outside of what you see on the screen kind of thing, just to make you like more invested in their friendship. So again, the rug can be pulled out from under you next episode.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That was part of the thing that I kind of like a little bit annoyed with this episode too, because where was all those little sweet interactions and like in-jokes with Cass in the rest of the season? Why did they all just get jammed into one episode? He's been present.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, you're definitely not wrong. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's funny because like, so okay, this is sorry, I don't want to complain too much, but that's what we're here for. Do you remember them ever telling Cass about Eve? Because like he suddenly knows about her.
They did.
Like
So the last episode in Frontierland, they pray to him and ask, like, hey, we found a way to take down Eve.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
There was a time before that. Maybe the dragons. Was he in the dragon episode?
No.
I don't remember.
Because it doesn't, like, I don't feel like the magnitude, which is, again, where we should have probably picked up that Eve wasn't really the big bad, because there isn't the magnitude of, like, she's something we need to be afraid of from Cass until this episode.
That's so true.
It's only until this, and it's just like, what?
But it's because he's been making out that, and it's true, that he's preoccupied with the war in heaven. So, like, who cares about these earthly issues? We can deal with them later. I'm literally fighting a war. And he says that many times to them, like, I don't care. I think part of that is almost to maybe distract them from that other stuff, all the things that are going on.
Yeah.
I mean, he's constantly trying to kind of enlist their help, or at least understand what he's going through, and they're just not hearing it because they've got too much other stuff going on. Which, like I've said, this whole season is kind of about that, right? I know I'm complaining about the fact that Eve was a big red herring for the actual big bad of the season, but to be fair to the writers, it has been lurking in the background, and we've been saying all along that this season is about, like, hidden things, essentially, like, and like loyalty and where those loyalties lie, because, like we said, Cass has been the B plot, constantly showing up and saying there's this war going on that we never see, right? We're only hearing about it, but it has apparently, like, world-ending consequences. They want to restart the apocalypse, but, like, no one seems to care.
Yep.
So everyone just cares about the A plot, which is Eve and Purgatory and everything. And then it turns out that is actually, like, it doesn't matter. What we should have been caring about all along is Cass's issues. Like, it is good. Like, I do appreciate it. I just feel like the execution was not quite what I wanted it to be.
I mean, there's always, like, you know, the show don't tell as well. And that's what's missing in this season, is that there is too much of the tell and not enough of the show. Because, like you said, if you've said it before, I can't remember what episode it was, but that it would have been nice to see, like, the effect of the Angel War on the world. Where was that?
That's precisely what I was saying. Like, what I was thinking is, like, where are the news stories, you know, saying, like, this happened somewhere in the world, and, like, you think that's kind of strange, that's not a thing that could happen, but then you get Cass showing up in the next scene saying, like, there's been a large scale battle between me and my brothers, and you're like, if you're a watcher of the show, you can put those two things together. They don't necessarily need to be told they're connected, right? I think that's what we're missing, like, little things like that, just to tie the real world into heaven. I think I'm getting really off topic here, I'm so sorry. But, like, I think this is part of the problem, actually, of, like, Supernatural sometimes, is that these alternate realities, like Purgatory and heaven and hell, like, they don't actually seem to have any direct effect on the real world. We're just told that they're bad. But then, like, why are they bad? What are we seeing? And we only ever really see the real world consequences in the first few seasons, when there were, like, some towns that were kind of going crazy, or, like, there were news reports and things about on the, like, TVs about, like, weather events, or I don't know.
So, I mean, I guess another way, because I was, as you were talking, I was like, you know, they were tracking all of the monster sightings, and, like, how in the cannery episode of and then there were none. How everybody got there because there was just a string of monster attacks along the highway. So, and then I'm thinking of Anna and, like, what happened when she fell and her grace fell and it sprouted a massive tree just like overnight. So I don't know if hunters really track miracles. Right? because that's what would happen if angels are falling and their grace is going everywhere.
Yeah.
And because we don't know how grace works yet, but we only know like a little bit from what Anna has happened, like what happened with Anna. Like, would they track that suddenly, like, the rainforest is starting to regrow, or like, you know, this baby who thought they would die is now alive, and things like that. So like, it's positive supernatural events. So I don't know if they would really follow that, but like, I feel like if anybody would, it would be Bobby.
Yeah.
And if he comes out and says, oh no, look at all these things that have been happening, but I didn't know, blah, blah, I'm like, no. that is retroactively writing.
Yeah. I mean, even with the monster sightings, we didn't really get the scale of that, and they kind of kept talking about how there are so many more monsters now. And like, all that would have taken is like, for example, a pin board in Bobby's office that has like pins in it for how many monster sightings there have been. And for over the season, for that to get gradually more and more pins in, right? It's just little details could have made this feel higher stakes. And then when the switcheroo came, you could have been like, oh my God, it all makes sense, right? Rather than like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you did there.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. This is the whole like Bad Wolf storyline of Doctor Who versus like Stephen Moffat's writing. This is the whole lecture I can get into with that, because that's the one time I've kind of seen it done right well, was that whole Bad Wolf plot, where through all the episodes they kept seeding this like one word of like Bad Wolf, and you're thinking, well, that's super weird. Why are people saying this constantly? And then the payoff is like, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they have sort of vaguely mentioned that, like, oh, that's really weird, we haven't seen that before. Or that's really weird, we haven't seen that before. But even that was downplayed in this episode, where with Dean just being like, oh, so you brought back whatever. The dragon line, actually, the delivery, very cool.
Yes.
I do enjoy that. But, like, you know, she took over this whole town in an afternoon. So why not do more of that and be like you said, having a pinboard of like suddenly towns are not evaporated, but like erased.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, yeah, there could have just been a little bit more scale. That's what's missing.
Yeah, scale. I think that's right. Yeah. So I realise I went on a massive tangent there just to about the episode. I'm so sorry. But I do feel like it was worth it. So
it was. I agree. So back to the episode. And we see these two sort of college-aged kids walking out of a bar. And one of them's complaining about how expensive the beer is, and they're going to go somewhere else. The guy's named Ed, and I swear Ed looks like The Weeknd. I don't know who that actor is. I forgot to look him up. He looks exactly like The Weeknd.
I was looking at him thinking, I know him from somewhere. You're right, he does look like The Weeknd. Oh no, now
that's all I could think about.
No, now I have to do him. Hang on. Oh, yeah, Dearest Supernatural. Let's have a quick look on IMDb. Who is this guy? Because like I looked at him and I was like, I know this guy. No, I don't know him from anything. He's just a guy who looks like The Weeknd.
Yep. So yes, the guy who looks like The Weeknd. His name is Ed, but he's going to be The Weeknd.
Yeah.
And as they're walking away, Eve walks over and she's got like what maybe looks like a stab wound. It's not her blood, because like she can't die in a normal way. And he's being a bit flirty with her. And he says, hey, heaven must be missing an angel. And like her face changed. Like at first she was like kind of like, yeah, egging it on a little, not egging it on, but like appreciative of the looks. And then as soon as he says angel, like her face drops and she gets like kind of annoyed. And as she walks by, she touches his face.
Yeah.
And like you see all this like weird veininess on the side of his head. And then they sort of walk off. Eve then enters the bar, and inside the bar is playing You Sexy Thing, which I thought was kind of a choice.
Me too. I didn't quite get it, but fine.
Like, I get that she's being a woman on TV, which is using her sexuality to blah, blah, blah. That you can write papers on it. But I'm not really into the ambiguous age of Eve.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell if she's supposed to be like 17 or 25. Like, it's the way she's dressed.
She reads young, so it is weird. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as she enters the bar, she like breaks the lock off and the handles so nobody can get out. And a guy who's like, again, probably seeing her as on the younger side.
Yeah.
Is trying to like help her. And it's like, hey, are you okay? Is that blood? Is there anything I can do to help? And she walks over and like makes out with him. And then more like vain stuff happens. And the person that he's drinking with is like, what's going on? Because he like kind of falls forward. And the person asks, what the hell? And Eve says, I gave him a gift, and then touches someone else's face, and all this veiny stuff happens. And then suddenly, like, they all start attacking each other.
Yeah.
And at this point, I was like, oh, it's the church scene from The Kingsman.
It so is. Yeah, it is actually. You're right.
Because they're all going after each other and, like, ripping each other's throats out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Eve's just there, like, having a drink, and You Sexy Thing is playing in the background.
Yeah. I was slightly disappointed that she only kisses men to spread the virus, because I feel like Eve wouldn't care, but that's just me not reading bisexuality on television, and I feel like it should have been there. Because she kisses the guy and then touches the woman's face, and I'm like, didn't we just establish
Could have done both.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
Yeah. She's a sexy thing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I guess...
You're playing into a different trope.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, yeah.
But, yeah. I don't know. I was just disappointed about that. Okay, so we go to Bobby's house. Dean's making shotgun shells out of the ashes. He's doing the whole tamp thingy. Sam and Bobby walk in. And Sam and Bobby in this episode are just like a little team, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
I don't know why, I just love that. Because, like I said, they paired up Dean and Cass so much in this episode, it kind of had to be like Sam and Bobby at times. And I just like, I don't know, I like that pairing because they're both like pretty sensible, straight and narrow kind of guys.
Though, where was... I mean, I guess Sam's redeemed himself enough now in Bobby's eyes.
So.
That, like, because he was kind of iffy around him with the whole stabby stab.
So they walk in and Dean's explained he's only made 5 shells, which I don't think seems like that many. That bottle of ashes was like quite big, and it didn't look like he was putting very much in those shotgun shells. But like, you do you, Dean.
Well, it seems like he was messing around with it too.
I mean, yeah, like spreading it about places. Like, my guy, you had to go back in time for that. Stop like throwing it around.
Right.
How do you have a mishap? Like, how does that happen? Like, it's not like... You should be wearing gloves for one. Goggles. Where's your PPE?
Where is it in this entire series?
Yeah. Where's the PPE team? Yeah. So yeah, he explains that like he had a mishap and he accidentally got some Phoenix ash on himself and like it didn't hurt. This is a surprise clue we'll need later.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're a bit worried that it's going to work because like if it doesn't hurt Dean, how's it going to hurt Eve? Which I think like is a bit. A bit of a stupid thing to say because they do a lot of things that don't hurt them but hurt monsters, like holy water, silver,
everything.
Like everything.
They even say that in this episode,
right? That's what I thought. They literally do the tests on some kids, so like they're not that bad. But he's like, oh, this doesn't hurt me. Like this is unprecedented. It was dumb. Sorry.
I mean, I guess he saw the effect of the Phoenix like burning people in the episode, so he thought maybe like, but his ash is not his power and whatever. Yeah.
Fine. So Oh, to be fair, I'm sorry. To be fair to Sam, he just said what we just said. He did say,
well, you know what? Maybe it's like iron or silver, you know? Hurts them, not us.
So Sam's my bestie, I've decided in this episode.
Yep.
So they're like down in the basement, and this is Bobby says to Dean, like, oh, you know, maybe it's time you made a call, meaning to Cass, because they're trying to find Eve, right? They want to go shoot her with these new shotgun shells they made, so they're going to get Cass for him to tell them where Eve is. I'm not sure why they think Cass would know, but like, fine.
Well, he seems to know where people are.
Yeah,
often.
Generally, yeah.
Yeah.
You'd think they would use him all the time for stuff like this.
And I guess he usually knows a spell or two that will do something too.
That's true. Okay, I'm giving them not enough credit in this episode. And Dean says, like, and I know this from the gag reel, and I can only ever see it now in my head, like the gag reel for this, even though the scene itself is kind of goofy. He's like, why has it always got to be me that makes the call, huh? It's not like Cass lives in my ass. The dude's busy. And then like Cass appears directly behind him, and he turns around and says, Cass, get out of my ass. And Cass looks confused and said, I was never in your... Yeah. And then just cuts off to like, have you made any progress locating Eve? This is what I mean. There's a few little setup moments in this episode between Dean and Cass, and you're kind of like, why? Because they haven't really... There was the more profound bond thing that they've had. They've had a few little moments in this season, but like this one was like chock-a-block, I feel.
It was very on the nose.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Very, very on the nose.
So Bobby's like, well, we were going to ask you to find Eve, and Cass explains she's hidden from all the angels. And so Sam suggests...
What we really need is an inside man.
What do you mean?
Something with claws and sympathy.
Quite like that saying.
Yeah.
So they're going to go find a friendly monster, and then we kind of get like a montage. I feel like there's been way too many montages recently of them just pacing around. There are a couple of moments in this episode, look, you know me, what I'm going to say, with the slow-mo and the montage. They padded this out like big time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they didn't need to, but they did.
They did. So eventually Cass turns up, and he's got Lenore from the episode with the vampires. Yep. There's blood in the title. What is it called?
Bloodlust.
Bloodlust, thank you.
My favourite season 2 episode.
It is good, to be fair. So yeah, it's Lenore. She is back, and they do have a flashback to who she is as well, just in case she's like missed season 2. And Dean says like, oh, it's been a long time, you remember us? And she says, I remember, your hunter friend almost killed me, meaning Gordon. Gordon's been dead a while now.
Yeah.
And Sam says, if it makes you feel any better.
He turned into a vampire, and I chopped his head off.
Yeah, with razor wire. Wicked.
That was great. I love that line, actually.
That was good. Like, just like them looking at each other, like proud of themselves. Like, yeah, we did that. So she says like, well, that's something. And then just like immediately like, well, what's going on then? Why am I here? Which is fair.
Yeah.
So they introduce Cass, like really strangely. That's like, that's Cass. He's our friend. And they ask her about Eve. Lenore doesn't want to tell them about Eve. She goes on to explain that like her whole nest has gone. They all basically like succumbed to Eve's voice, which was telling them to like eat people and presumably spread vampirism to other people. Yeah, she doesn't want to help them pretty much because she just wants nothing to do with it. But eventually she does like tell them that she's in Grants Pass, Oregon, and then goes on to say like, basically, in return for this, I want you to kill me. And this felt very reminiscent of Benny.
Benny or Maddie?
I met Benny. And only because Benny's also a vampire. And I feel like he has almost this exact same conversation with Dean after they get out of purgatory. And Dean, like, beheads him. Basically, like, I don't belong. Like, it's a bit different for Benny. Yeah. Benny's a bit more like, I don't belong here anymore. I should go back to purgatory. less kind of maybe angst about being a vampire, but I feel like there's some parallel there. I don't know, this just reminded me of that, I think. But yeah, you're right, Maddie as well is a similar one. They do really hammer home here that like monsters are just not worth, like, if you're a monster, it's not worth living kind of thing, isn't it? Like, because they're constantly, yeah, there's a lot of them that are like, kill me kind of thing. And then when they get turned, it's like this whole world ending thing. And it's the thing that Eve threatens them with at the end of the episode. And you're like, I don't think it would be that bad if you guys were vampires. Like, I don't understand why you think it would be this bad. Like, Dean, when you die, you'll go to purgatory. You freaking love purgatory. Like, you'll be fine.
Also, it's a condition of their upbringing, right? Because
Yeah.
monsters are bad. That's basically what it is. That's like, if you become a monster, you are like, if you become a creature, you're a monster, and therefore you're evil. Therefore, you must be killed.
Yeah.
That's really all that it is. It's not. There's just no option for a grey until much later in the series.
Yeah, I just still think it's wild that in season 15, one of the bad endings was them becoming vampires. Like, after all the good vampires that they knew and like everything that had been through, that was still like considered a kind of bad ending for them. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just a bit strange to me. But yeah, basically Lenore's like, I'm really dangerous because Eve is whispering to me, like, I want you to kill me so that I don't kill anybody else, because she has like a very strong moral compass. And they like Sam starts on this really like sympathetic, like, Lenore, like, you don't, and then like Cass just like straight up like burns her eyes out. It is super graphic and gross.
It is pretty bad.
Yeah. And he just says, we needed to move this along, which
I thought was kind of interesting, because like, I think back to Caged Heat and where they're like, well, we can't really leave these monsters here, but we can't let them go.
Yeah.
But like in this instance where she's being asking them to do it, and yet they're refusing, it's just like, okay, pick a lane.
Yeah, no, because she's one of the good ones for these monsters.
But she doesn't want to exist anymore.
Yeah, it is very strange to me how they treat monsters sometimes in Supernatural, and it does change again later on as well. I feel like they soften towards monsters a lot later on.
Yeah, because they keep getting turned into them.
and their friends.
And their friends, yeah. And okay, so this is another point to make, that Dean has always been the main character, or got turned into the main character.
Yeah.
Because it's Dean's change in attitude, because he makes friends with demons. He makes friends with, he becomes a demon. He becomes all of these monsters. So his viewpoint changes. Yeah. Whereas Sam has always been a bit in the grey, and like always wants to do the best by, the individual versus, so like, as Dean's attitude shifts, so does the show, which is what you do for a main character. Just saying.
Yeah, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. There's also the first indication that like Cass means business in this episode, and it seems like war has hardened him, because there was a time at the end of season 5 where Cass was again also like softening, right, towards humanity and generally having kind of like regard for non-angel lives. But then this kind of war in heaven seems to have like re-hardened him essentially, and he's very much like business, and especially in this episode as well. And he just looks tired. I think one really good, this is not a shade, I'm so sorry, Misha. One really good thing that Misha does with playing Cass is like Cass looks so tired and so done all the time.
He does. Yeah. He does.
And in this episode, you can just sense the like weariness on him the whole time. He's like just almost like just going through the motions of going along with them now. I think that's really interesting. And yeah. So he just Cass just teleports them as well, like straight away to Grants Pass in Oregon, like no rush, no fuss. And it's a super sunny day. Dean says, I was expecting more Zombieland, less Pleasantville. And Bobby, of course, says, well, just because it looks that way doesn't mean it is, which is obvious.
Yep.
So I love this line. I don't know why. Maybe because Boaty McBoatface wasn't a thing yet. I don't know what year Boaty McBoatface was. But Dean says,
Yeah, well, if she is here, I'm glad we got Smitey McSmiterton on our squad.
and like Cassis looks at him like, what? And then Bobby goes like, I'm going to need a computer to find Eve.
Yeah.
They walk into this diner called Irvin's Diner. It took me ages to figure out what was on the wall in there. I think it says something like it's in the climate. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's just
okay.
It was just a huge bit of wording on the wall. So Bobby, again, this is one of these little moments that I really loved. Like, I do like these little moments in this episode. So Bobby's like, okay, I got the police database. No thanks to this. And he's like got like some kind of, I think it's an iPad or like a
tablet.
Yeah, some kind of tablet. He's like, I asked for a computer. And Sam's like, it is. And Bobby's like, no, a computer has buttons. And
I love Dean's face of agreement. It's like, yeah, he's right.
I also agree with Bobby. Computers need buttons. Like, what's the point? I don't enjoy all this era into smart technology where everything is touchscreen, because you know what happens? As soon as that touchscreen turns off, it means you don't have control over everything. I want sci-fi flicky switches. I want Millennium Falcon flicky switches and Star Trek flicky switches. I don't want your gross flat screens. And I'm specifically talking to you, Tesla. Anyway, I agree with Bobby. So, like, there's not a lot that, like, Bobby hasn't really found anything. Cass is like, I'll search the town. And then he just sits there and they're all looking at him like, is he doing it? Dean's like, you don't have to wait on us. And Cass is kind of like, and again, Dean's is like, well, now it just looks like you're pooping. So Cass has lost all of his powers. He's stuck, essentially. Mm-hmm. He says, something in this town has affected me. I assume it's Eve. And throughout all of this, they make impotency jokes about Cass because he's lost his mojo.
I really hate this line of like, so wait, mum's making you limp. Like, please. We know you have mum issues, Dean. You don't. No, we're not Odysseusing this.
Oedipusing.
Oedipusing this. We're not Oedipusing. I get those two confused all the time. The ODs. We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
Your mum already bites you in this episode, which is weird.
It was weird. It was weird. Weird. So yeah, Cassis agree, like figuratively, yes, that is happening. And then Dean says,
oh, well, that's great, because without your power, you're basically just a baby in a trench coat.
Great line.
And like, it's the first time you kind of see Cass like a little bit like, he turns his head to the side, like really upset about what Dean has said to him. And even Sam's just like, I think you hurt his feelings.
Well, I mean, let's just think about that for just 1 second, right? Cass has been commanding an army to fight heaven, and then Dean turns it around and just says, you're a baby in a trench coat. Would you not get really offended of like, look, dude, I am a general amongst angels. Like, no.
I do love that, like, they just wholly underestimate Cass. And I think this is part of this, like, how this end of the season is kind of gearing up, right? That they underestimate him so much that it's like, oh, yeah, okay. Because, he must be real pissed off. He said his, like, true form is larger than the Chrysler building. Like, he could crush them. He rebuilt Dean's body from, like, nothing and pulled him out of hell. And this is how he's repaid. Just the absolute disrespect.
Disrespect. I'm glad they went with baby and not some sort of, like, gendered, insult, like a woman. That would have been annoying. But I can go with baby.
I can go with baby. Also, But and also, obviously, like, Dean and Cass had this whole, like, will they, won't they kind of thing. And, like, you don't want to get told by your crush that you're just a baby. Hi, baby. Anyway, so Bobby's found a news story about a...
I just wanted to say that in all of this,
Yes.
you see a woman in the background, and we know it's Eve. Like, so Eve is actually serving people. Yeah, she's actually one of the waitresses serving people in the diner. So yeah,
That's quite good.
I was just like, ha ha ha.
I didn't notice that at all. I really should have noticed. Anyway, so Bobby's found this news story about a Dr. Silver who had an illness he couldn't identify, and is Ed Bright from the beginning of the episode. They show a picture of his driving license. They agree that it's not much to go on, but they're going to go look it up. They arrive at the doctor's office, and it's just Dean and Cass. What happened to Sam and Bob? Oh, they went somewhere else. They went to the doctor's house. Yes, they did.
Yeah. But they don't say that they're going to the doctor's house until you see them at the house. So it was kind of like, what?
It's fine. I'm okay with that. It's okay. Again, I like the split. I like the Dean, Cass, Bobby, Sam split. So they walk up to the doctor's office, and there's a woman coming out of there, locking the door, and they want to see the doctor. And Dean's like, my friend is very sick, and points to Cass. And Cass like, I have a painful burning sensation. Again with the herpes in this season. That's the implication. What happened here? Why?
Who on set got herpes?
Who got herpes? There's a convention question for you. In season 6, who got herpes that it is mentioned? I think I count at least 5 mentions of herpes in season 6. At this point, it's just the herpes season.
Yeah.
What happened?
What happened? Like, at least in season 4, they mentioned multiple STDs. Sam got all of them.
It's just, I don't know. It's so juvenile. I kind of like, why? Anyway. So yeah.
Was there epidemic at the time of herpes? I don't know.
I mean, it's the kissing disease.
Yes.
I think that's mumps, actually, to be fair. They call them.
That's mono. Mono is the kissing disease.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You can get herpes and mumps all those ways. So just, don't stop kissing people.
Stop touching mouths.
Yeah.
Because even in Frontierland, she had herpes.
Yeah.
She physically had herpes.
That's true, she did. I wonder if we go through every episode in the season if there is at least one mention of herpes per episode.
I think there is, actually, because it was in, I'm not going to do all of them, but it was in 16.
Yeah.
The worm herpes.
Yeah.
Frontierland with the actual woman.
Yeah.
This one. Sam even pointed it out in one of the episodes.
Yeah.
Like, what is it with you and herpes? I can't remember what episode that was. Anyway, so there's at least 4.
That's what I mean.
And there's only been 19 episodes.
And the whole the changing channels as well, which is obviously from season 5.
Oh.
That's where that started, right? That's season 5? Yeah, season 5.
Yeah, season 5. But that was gonorrhea.
Was it?
Wasn't herpes.
No, I'm sure it was herpes.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Mm-mm. I'm 100% sure it was
no,
herpes.
No, you're right. You're right. Because he says, I have genital herpes. Yeah, no, you're right. Yep. But then in the episode with when Dean becomes old, which is in season 4, I think, Sam gets the clap because the wizard claps.
But that's not herpes though. That's just chlamydia.
Right, but it's STD, like they've done STD jokes in the past, like other ones.
Right, yeah.
So I don't know why they just got on the herpes train.
I feel like it's almost like a bet. Like someone bet the writers that they could mention herpes in an episode, and every time they do, they win $100 or something from someone else. I feel like that's the kind of thing that happened here. But they do that to people all the time on radio shows. Like, oh, you have to mention this word in an interview. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just with this. Anyway. So the woman walks off, and then, Dean says, what kind of doctor calls the CDC and then leaves? Let's have a look. And he goes to pick the lock, and Cass is watching him is this going to take a long time?
This is his dig back at Dean for calling him a baby.
You're so right, actually. 100%. Eventually, Dean stops picking the lock, and bends down and finds some blood on the floor. He shows Cass, and then he notices a shed that's just like on the street with a dead, with this dead body in there of Ed, and his like is so gross. His like skin's like peeling. It's grim. It's gross. So then again, he says like, "What kind of doctor calls the CDC?" Then stashes the corpse in his shed, and Cass just says, "I don't understand what's happening here." Same man.
You and me both, Cass.
Yeah. And dude says, "Well, I know one thing. We're gonna need some kerosene."
So is this Ed, or is this a shift? Is this Dr. Silver as a shifter?
Oh God, I don't know.
Because that's why his skin's all goopy.
Yeah.
Because he's shifting, right?
I feel like it's Ed. I feel like this is patient 0.
Okay. But then why was he locked in the shed? Who locked him in the shed? I just want to know. Oh, it was a woman. It was the assistant. Surely. She's a Jefferson Starship.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I mean, everyone is in this town, right? So
yeah.
Sorry, look, I rolled away.
Maybe. I don't know.
So we cut to Sam and Bobby. They are coming out of Dr. Silver's house, explaining that he had a wife and 2 sons, and they show a picture of them. The sheriff rocks up and is like, "Who are you guys?" And they show their FBI badges, even though they're dressed like lumberjacks. And he does make a note of like casual Friday guys. And Bobby is so smooth. He's just like, "Yeah, we're on a case a few miles out." Oh no, Sam actually says that, and then Bobby's like, what's your business? Automatically like redirects him to another topic. Yeah. So the sheriff's explaining that Dr. Silver didn't show up for work, so he's checking on him. Bobby explains he's actually missing, and they get into this whole spiel. And the sheriff eventually says like, "Well, why are you guys? How did you get onto this?" And Bobby says, "Oh, you put an APB, and we'll compare notes at the station." As the sheriff like leaves, they just like walk off like, "That worked." Which I enjoyed, because Sam says,
Wow, talk about talking out of your butt.
Yeah, just hurry, Idget.
It's nice to see Bobby kind of like working, if that makes sense. Although we saw it a bit in the Carnwarren episode, like it wasn't very much. Yeah. So they meet up with Dean and Cass outside Ed Bright's house. And they explain about the missing doctor and the body. And so they're going to go talk to Ed's roommates. And then they look through the window, and there's a guy who is Ed, even though Ed is dead, like coughing up a storm, like looking real crap. So Sam's like, "A shifter?" They decide they're going to go in. It's just going to be Sam and Dean this time, and leave Bobby and Sam outside, but leaves them with guns and says like, "Best guess, silver bullets, because that's what kills shifters." Cass says, "I'm fairly unpracticed with firearms," and Dean just says,
You know who whines? Babies.
And this is Dean's dig back at him for the lockpicking thing. They're being very bickerish.
Exactly. So, which is crazy to me that Cass doesn't know how to fire a gun. I know he does like very close combat, but like he
said this similar thing before.
He has actually
in another, I think at the end of season 5 when he was given a gun then too. Like,
yeah,
this is not my thing.
He's very like Obi-Wan Kenobi, like how uncivilized. That.
And yet he was obsessed with weapons.
Yeah.
I mean, one of them was a staff, so is that really a weapon?
I don't know. So Sam and Dean walk towards the house. They break down the door. They do their whole like wavy gun thing. And there are several Eds all dead in the lounge, just like laying around. Yeah.
Having a good time.
Yeah, having a real good time.
Yeah. And so we get like Dean's germ phobia again, because he's like,
Okay, don't touch anything.
which is fair because you don't know what's going on, so really shouldn't. But like he touched the blood already of the other one, so like anyway.
This annoyed me a lot because they're constantly like, "Don't touch anything" in the house, and then like Stamnik immediately like touches that guy, and like they go to like cover their mouths with their sleeves like it's gonna do anything. Like, It's just, if they're going to get infected, they got infected here, right? Because
already,
you would think they would keep, I know this is pre-COVID, but still, you'd think they would keep stuff like masks and stuff in their car. I guess they don't have their car with them, do they?
No, they don't. You're right.
Yeah.
But even still, like, the only time that they wear gloves is when they're doing autopsies. That's the only time you'll see them wear gloves.
I would wear gloves so much if I was a monster hunter.
All the time.
They're constantly complaining about witches and bodily fluids. Like,
you're doing the same thing.
or buy some of those like roll-on finger condoms.
That's so gross. I hate them. I don't know
Can
why.
you imagine like them getting them out their pocket and like rolling them on their finger to like do like a weird like lick thing of blood or goo or whatever? Like, it would save so much infection.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I tell you.
But they have plot armor, so
That's fine.
You know, it's fine. So Sam runs over to who he thinks is Ed, and he's just like trying to sort of wake him up and trying to reassure him. It's actually really sweet how like both Sam and Dean are trying to like reassure him, even though like they're calling him Ed, and the dude's like, "Well, I'm not Ed," and he's like asking what's wrong with him, and so Sam sees his like ID, and so this is Marshall, which I think is the same guy who was with him at the bar the previous night.
Yeah.
It is the same guy. And, you know, Marshall asks, you know, let me ask you something. Do all of us look like Ed? And Dean's like, no. You just have a fever. Like, it's so nice that they're trying to like, oh my God. I just realized all these guys went to purgatory.
Maybe, they did.
They got turned into monsters and they died.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Aww. Poor Ed. Poor Marshall.
Poor guys.
Yeah.
And no kids.
Yeah. Well, fuck them kids. I mean, just kidding. Yeah. So they're trying to get information out of Marshall, and sort of the night before he wasn't feeling well, so they took him to the doctors, and now they're all sick. And Sam's trying to get out of him, like, what were you doing before you got sick? And he's like, oh, we were at some bar. And he says that on 8th Street. He asks if he had seen anyone. Did they meet anyone? And he starts coughing, and Sam's sort of saying, look, an ambulance is on the way. Again, being reassuring, even though it's not happening, unfortunately. Yeah. And he tells them about a girl, and it's a girl in white. And Dean's like, okay, good. You know, what did the girl in white do? Very panicked. Is like, what did she do to Ed? And unfortunately, Marshall dies at that moment. So they leave, and Dean's saying like, I don't get it. What, a bunch of regular Joes wake up as shifters? You know, what's going on? And shifters usually run in families, not like just an infection, which is what this looks like. And again, Bobby reiterates, nobody touched anything, right? Oh, Sam picked up a wallet with an ID, so yeah, he actually did touch, and touched Marshall too. So,
yes, he did. Yeah.
No. And Dean's like, I'm bathing in Perel tonight.
It's too late, man. It's too late. You already went into the room. You already touched all the stuff. Sorry.
You did. And you touched blood. Yeah. You touched the blood of a shifter already. So like, anyway. Yeah. Clearly that's not how it's spreading. Maybe the virus has already died. I don't know. Who knows? It's whatever. I'm not going to think about it. I don't want to think about it. Sam then explains that.
So he said they met a girl.
It's got to be Eve.
Why would she do this?
Mommy monster. Make more.
Dean's kind of confused by that because, like, why would she? Because Cass asks, why would she do this? Dean says, you know, Cass has a good point. I mean, if she's going to make a shifter army, why make them sick and dying? Yeah. Yeah. Nobody really knows what's going on. So they decide to go to the bar. And when they get to the bar and they open it, you see all of the dead bodies from the night before. And Bobby's like,
well, the sheriff's a moot, but still, you'd think he'd notice this many missing folks.
Which again should be a clue that the sheriff is not a good guy, but we'll get there. So Dean goes up to one of the bodies, and because he notices that she's like her mouth is covered in blood, which is like weird. Like, why would anybody be biting another person? And he like lifts up her mouth and like vampire teeth fall down like it does, or they're already there. I can't remember. And then he says, "Oh, we got a vamp over here," but then like picks up her arm and it's got a spike, which is a wraith. And they're like, "What has teeth and a spike?" And Bobby's like, "I've never seen that in my life." He says, "Oh, great. So Eve's making hybrids now." Which, why a vampire and a wraith?
Maybe it's just a good combo for this whole infection deal.
Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe what the prop department had most of that day.
Yeah, it's more likely. Yeah. And I guess it's like what monsters are like aggressive, easy to like do as prosthetics or CGI like quickly. Yeah. Because like her teeth aren't real. Like they're prosthetics. They're CGI'd in, I think. So yeah. What would your monster combination be? I don't even know. I want something that could walk in the day, spread its... I would probably do like a shift or something.
Yeah, I think shift is pretty cool, but like supernatural shifters are pretty horrifying because you have to like peel off your own skin.
Maybe it's like the alpha version, because the alpha version is just like shimmers.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool, to be fair. I guess like vampires are kind of lame in supernatural because they just have teeth and are like, I don't know, they're not even like emo, you know? What's the point of them?
They don't even sparkle. Like what?
Yeah, the werewolves are kind of lame too. I don't know. What supernatural monster would I actually want to be?
Well, so it's not to be, but to hybrid together.
Oh, to hybrid together. Okay. I guess like, there was that weird like electric monster thing plus a dragon. So like it's kind of just a big flying monster, a gargoyle, if you will.
Would you have the voice of Keith David?
Absolutely, I would. I guess in this case you chose vampires because they're easily transmittable, right? Like it just takes a bite for someone to become a vampire. And presumably this is the same way. And then the wraith spike makes them good at like close combat. At least you could have picked werewolves maybe.
Yeah, but I guess it's hard. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what my hybrid would be, but fine. I just don't remember what like wraiths were.
They eat brains. Remember it goes in the ear and they go...
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, from the pudding.
Yeah, that episode.
Yeah. Dean's like, so the question, again, why is Eve doing this? And he's like, what? And he kind of stumbles on what to call these things. And Bobby's like, well, congrats, you discovered it, you get to name it. And Dean says, Jefferson Starships. And like, Bobby and Sam look at him confused. And he's like, because they're horrible and hard to kill.
Great. He's been sitting on that one since he was a teenager.
For sure. Yep. So Sam carries on to say, like...
Looks like the whole bar has been turned into these...
Jefferson Starships.
Fine. But why are all the starships dead?
I love that they co-opted this name and just like keep going with
like,
it.
What else are you going to call them, man? Like, he's already...
Yeah.
Yep. And like they went with starships and not just like Jeffersons, which is like an actual kind of name.
But can you imagine trying to say Jeffersons really quickly versus starships?
That's very true.
And Bobby, I don't know how you tell that they all burned up, but apparently they all burned up like they had a fever, like they had the flu. Sure.
No idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. As they're sort of discussing what's going on, the sheriff and two other officers come in with guns, and Dean's already crouched down at this point. So they only see Cass, Bobby, and Sam. Yeah. So they arrest them and like pull them away, and they're like, Bobby's saying, look, we're feds. And the sheriff's like, yeah, well, feds aren't allowed to do this. As if like they're freshly dead bodies. But again, this is reasons why. Yeah. And like, Dean kind of sneakily hides behind the bar.
So,
like, I guess there were only 3 officers, so fine. But like, it is very like, I'm going to move 2 inches away and nobody's going to see me.
It's so unsneaky.
It's so unsneaky. So they get to the station and they're being particularly rough. Like, Bobby's face gets put to the window to open the door. Like, it's not even like, it's kind of crazy. And Sam's like proclaiming his rights, saying he gets a phone call.
He's a lawyer, a law boy.
Right, exactly. Oh yeah, forgot about that. He says he can straighten this all out, and Sheriff's like, you can straighten out a massacre? Like, I'd like to see you try. And as he's saying this, he sees the security footage and the sheriff's eyes are silver. And he's like, Jefferson Starships, and they will start kicking ass suddenly because they can. Like, why couldn't they have done that before? I mean, I guess because they're police officers, so they didn't want to.
I just realised that means they're shifters as well, right? Because I think shifters have the glowy eyes, and the wraiths have the weird face in the camera.
Oh, yeah, but do vampires have the glowy eyes?
No, I don't think so.
No. Okay. Yeah, so maybe they are shifters then. And then somehow Dean is immediately behind one of them and like chops this guy's head in half, which I thought was very cool. I did enjoy that.
They're really gearing up to the Leviathan head choppiness of the next season.
Yes.
Like, you can see the CGI is like almost there.
Yep. They're like, get ready, boys. Yep. It's going to be a lot of this.
We're really good at this. We're going to put it everywhere.
They are. Yep. And before Dean can kill the sheriff, Sam tells him to wait, and they have him like chained in silver and like are starting to torture him basically. Yeah. So Bobby is interrogating him, torturing him, but like not really getting any answers. Sam and Dean are watching from outside.
I thought this was shot really interestingly because you have, I think it's Bobby and Cass inside the room with the Jefferson Starship sheriff and Sam and Dean outside. But the way that they shot this is that you can't see Sam. You're looking through the window, and Dean's face is the only face in focus in the whole shot, in the reflection of the glass. And like, I don't know if it was trying to like say something about the fact that like Dean's like watching torture, because that's the whole like trigger for him, but it feels almost too deep for supernatural. But at the same time, like, there was no reason for this shot. Like, he looks really uncomfortable with the situation.
Well, he was already uncomfortable with Crowley torturing monsters to get purgatory, and they're doing exactly the same thing to find Eve.
That's so true, actually.
So,
and I do kind of like that they keep that aspect of his character, because it could have so easily been forgotten. I'm like, oh yeah, he did spend 40 years in hell, like, and 10 of those torturing people, and like 30 of them being tortured. So of course he would find this distressing, and they do continue. I'll be interested to know if they do ever drop it, which I feel like they do, and just decide like, it's fine now, Dean tortures people all the time. But he only ever...
It's been another 10 years, so it's fine.
Yeah. Like he only does it under duress, right? If people really ask him to. Right. And then in this case, Bobby and Cass have kind of taken the burden on themselves to get this information. Which I just thought it was a very small moment in the episode, but I thought it was quite interesting that they do carry that on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that really does. I also find it really interesting that Cass is the only person covered in blood in this, like, for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, the symbolism.
There is some, but like, it's not used. It's not used.
But you're right, though. It is, and it's almost like, because he's such an angel, right? He's always he's not put together, but he always looks the same. So to see him altered in his appearance in any way is quite jarring, I think. It's the same effect we get when he like takes off his coat. It's like, you can do that. It detaches.
It's like not sewn into you.
Yeah. So it's almost like he's sullying himself by being with them or through his actions, because he is harsh in this episode. Like, there's a lot of he doesn't act very angelic at any point in this episode.
No, because like when he gets the answers, you see him walk out and his hands are covered in blood. Like he's literally getting his hands dirty for the Winchesters.
Yeah. And what's the difference between him and a demon at that point? Like, there isn't really any difference.
Mm-mm.
I guess, again, playing into the next few episodes of the season, but like, I do appreciate how they explore Cass in this way.
I wish they had more time to do
Right,
it.
this is the thing.
Like really play into the fact that they can, like, you know, they don't even mention that Cass has changed. Like this immediate not will, but this immediate jump into action, like killing Lenore. I was going to call her Tara.
I know, yeah.
Just like, doing it immediately without, you know, whatever. Like, and the things he's going to say to Dean in a little bit as well, just the harshness of it all. There's a part of me that just wants to see Sam and Dean like come to this conclusion that maybe Cass is not all good.
It kind of happens in the end of this episode, but like Dean never sees it until the other two point it out to him.
But the only reason why they see that is because they are betrayed. So it's so selfish.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. They're not seeing him as like a person who has changed, right? They're just like, this is Cass. He's got stuff going on, so he's kind of like funky right now, but I guess that's just who he is now. La 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 la. They're not friends. Like, this is the thing that really annoys me. Like, they're not friends. Like, they don't look out for him. They're not making sure Cass is okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's just a tool to be used, right? They call him when they need him. And I've said that in this season before. And I think it does, again, get addressed next episode, that they use him, right? And we see some banter between him and Dean in this episode, but most of it is kind of like derogatory. It's not very friendly. And yeah, he does so much for them. Like, I don't understand it. He's like... He's like that kid at school who would like try and hang around with the popular kids and just get like walked all over because of it. That's Cass. Yeah.
That is Cass. And I think the only person who appreciates Cass is Bobby. Like, because I think back to Frontierland where he's like, okay, use my soul. Like, go for it.
Because he almost respects him as the supernatural being that he is, though. I think Bobby still sees him as an angel.
Yeah.
Where like Sam and Dean are like just the nerdy little guy that hangs out with us, that's useful for spells and stuff. Yeah. I feel sad for Cass. We've all been that kid.
We have. If you're watching Supernatural, more than likely, you have been
right.
Sorry,
it's true. It gets better. You get better friends.
It does. You do. You certainly do. So yeah. So it goes back to Bobby asking questions, but then they hear Sam and Dean hear something, and they're like, more starships. So they go investigate. Sam says to Cass to stay here. I don't know why. He's not exactly a liability. I know he's not really like... He can still use his fists.
Like, yeah, he can throw a punch, man. Like, it's fine.
Yeah. He can swing a machete around. We've already seen it. And in the jail cells, they see two boys. And it's the Dr. Silver's kids. And they're like handcuffed and gagged. So they go like release them. And Sam says, we're not going to hurt you. My name is Sam. This is my brother, Dean. And those cops are not coming back ever. And Sam asks for their names. And the older one is called Joe. And the younger one is called Ryan. Dean turns to Ryan and asks how he's doing. But he doesn't say anything. And Joe is just, having a conversation or taking over the conversation, saying he won't talk. Not since they came for us. I don't know how I feel about this whole thing, this whole setup for this, because obviously they're set up to be sympathetic for Sam and Dean, to play into Eve's like plan or whatever, but like I don't know.
It was super harsh.
It feels weird.
Yeah, it was super harsh.
Yeah,
because she's set them up for Sam and Dean because they're two brothers who's just lost their parents because like the doctor's family have been killed or whatever. Like they're the perfect trap, and I guess this is the only time we really actually see maybe how ruthless Eve is. I know she's killed a bunch of people, but that's pretty on par for Supernatural. But this is pretty like
this is evil.
Yeah, this is evil. it feels wrong.
Yeah, and I think also the playing into the fact that she calls herself a mother.
Yes.
Like she's looking after her children, and then she uses children as bait and a trap. And I feel like that just shows her cruelty and like how she's not actually any better than like Chuck.
No, I agree. I totally agree. So, yeah, I mean, all of these like older supernatural beings like Chuck, Eve, the Empty, like Death for all intents and purposes, and then Billy they all kind of are callous in this way, I feel.
Yeah. Even Uriel was like that too.
Yeah. You know, I feel
he was more malicious about it, but yeah.
Like the old school, the OGs, they're like, we don't care about humanity, screw you all.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas like,
you're here for us.
This doesn't feel like something Crowley would do. I feel like he has a code of conduct.
He does. Well, it's because he was a contract person, right? He made contracts. So, of course, that has rules and very specific rules. So I feel like he is very much like, I like order, and order are these things.
I agree with you. Yeah, I totally. But yeah, this felt underhanded, and like, I kind of remembered this because I was like, this is clearly a trap.
Yeah, like, I honestly thought it was the older boy for sure because like he's talking too much. Yeah. I don't know why that was what it was. Again, some of the choices that they made with this whole thing, I really didn't enjoy. Again, like using the music in that way to make like to show family kind of thing. I was like that. Like once it was revealed who they were, even when it was happening, I was like, why? Like,
I'll tell you what this is. Okay, because if we just quickly go through kind of the interaction with Cass they have, like go through that, and then I'll explain why the music annoyed me. Yeah.
Okay. So Sam says he's not going to hurt them, but they have to do a few tests to make sure that they're human. They go back to Bobby and Cass, and the sheriff now has a huge cut on his face, and he's like, "This is never going to make me talk," and he's like, "Well, something will." So Dean comes back with the boys, the kids. Oh no, it goes back to them because they're not with them yet. And Sam is asking, have you ever heard them talk about a mother or someone named Eve? And Joe shakes his head no. It was just Ryan and him. The cops told Joe and the boy, Ryan, that they were next for food.
Yeah. You have any other family?
An uncle. And Merritt.
Merritt, was that like 15 miles outside of town? Okay, we'll get you there.
So I guess they did take them into the room where like the torture is happening, but not really, like the room outside where the torture is happening. And Cass pulls Dean aside, and Cass is like, "Look, we need to find Eve now." Dean's like, "Yeah, that's fine. Me and Sam will go. Like, it's a milk run, whatever." And Cass is like, "Well, we need your help here." Dean's just like, "Whatever. Like, it'll take no time at all. We'll be right back." And honestly, like going 15 miles there and back is it's less than an hour. It's really, really not that long. And it's already turned into nighttime, so they've already been anyway. I'm kind of with Dean on this, that it wouldn't take that long to do this. Yeah. Then Cass points out that like
millions of lives are at stake here, not just two. Just stay focused.
Are you kidding?
There's a greater purpose here.
You know what? I'm getting a little sick and tired of the greater purposes. Okay? I think what I'd like to do right now is save a couple of kids.
And he turns to the boys and says, "Okay, let's go." So during all of this is when this theme is playing. And it's just like, I don't know. Yeah.
So
you tell me. Yeah.
So the theme is like Dean's theme, the Americana theme, but it's not. It's like slightly different.
It's very slightly.
It's like almost like the two of them against the world. I think this is it puts them so at odds with Cass. I think after them like supposedly being friends and like using him for all this stuff, they just immediately dismiss him and say like, no, we're doing it our way. We're saving these kids. And there was something so like self-absorbed about it. I can't explain what I mean by that. Like, this is who we are. We save children. And then they just like walk out like, we're heroes. And I don't know why it rubbed me up the wrong way so much. I wonder if like, no, Cass couldn't have possibly known about the kids. So he was just being like, we need to find Eve. This is not important. Which, again, they're trying to... I think because I love Cass so much, there was a very concerted effort in these few episodes to make him out to be a villain. And he's the big bad, right, of the season. And they're all like the old kind of boss fight. So it just feels at odds with his character to be this way, although you kind of understand, I guess, later why this might be. I don't know. There's just something very strange about it, and it just doesn't gel very well with my image of Cass in the season now. But it also just feels so contrived that they're like, no, he's a villain now. You're not supposed to like him anymore. Like, we've decided that he's a bad guy.
But the thing is also, it's been proven time and time again that Dean will always pick the small potatoes. He will always pick the one person he can save over the millions he could save. He will save Sam before he will save the world. And this is exact situation because he sees these two boys as them. And another thing that really annoyed me is that they are dressed like them too.
They are, yeah. It was such a good trap.
It was, but I'm just like, how could you not?
How could you not know?
What is it about it that doesn't flare up red flags and like warning signs that they're in the like police station where the entire town has been turned into Jefferson starships? There are two children that are completely unaffected, right where you're going to be, right where you've been taken.
Yeah, that's so true.
It's not like you stumbled across going, no, you were taken to the police. Like, I'm just like, why is nothing, you want to be a hero so badly. And like, he wants to give people family so badly that he will not listen to an ancient being telling him, we can do this afterwards. They are safe in here. We can go, we can deal with Eve. Like, if we deal with Eve, there is no more threat.
It's so right. You're so right, actually. It's the easy wins. They always take the easy wins, right? They don't have to make any difficult moral decisions when it comes to other people. But, they do recognize this in themselves because they constantly say, like, oh, our blind spot is, like, me and you. It's each other and family. And this is what I mean about, like, Cass not being their friend. Well, at this point as well, he's not family. So why would they listen to him when they have a chance to do this, like, thing that makes them feel good, despite it being, like, clearly the wrong decision at this point? I don't know. I feel a lot about it too. Cass is right. Cass is never wrong. He's always right.
Yeah, and like, so when you're saying that, you know, this makes him sort of like Cass seem like a bad guy, I actually see it the opposite way. I actually feel like Dean is the bad guy in this, and like that's why the theme playing got on my nerves, because it's like, this is supposed to be a really emotional moment using this music, but Dean is not right.
But it seems like they're right in the moment, though, doesn't it? Because like, it's only on a rewatch where you're like, they're wrong, actually.
Yeah.
I know, because it's making
maybe.
out that they are the heroes in this situation, when actually, no, they're not. They're getting more people killed through, again, not facing the big picture. Oh my God, it's the whole season.
Oh, what? Yeah. Oh, and like it's a little brother who's going around killing. Oh dear.
Yeah, look, it's their whole thing.
It's their shtick.
Eve could have been a really good bad guy. That's what I'm saying.
She could have been. Yeah. She really could have. They had so much potential with that, but they went with Crowley, which is fine because in the end, Crowley's pretty good as a character overall. And we wouldn't have got there without this. So fine. But so there is now nighttime and they're in the car and Joe is saying to Ryan that, he should get some rest and like gives him like a side hug to like get him to sleep. Sam and Dean have like a little bit of a knowing look of like, oh, this is like what I did for you when we were kids kind of thing. So they go back to the station with Bobby and Cass, and Bobby's like, like the Winchesters are going to do what the Winchesters are going to do. There's no way of like
reining them in, stopping them.
Yeah, exactly. I do like this line from Cass. He says,
They won't take long.
You don't know that. They may find more wayward orphans along the way.
I do love that. I really do. And the funny thing is that in the grand scheme of Supernatural, they do end up finding a lot of wayward orphans.
I hate to break it to Cass. He's one too.
He is one. Yeah. Yeah. He is. I like that Bobby like reprimands him. It's like, don't be cute. And so Cass carries on saying, like, pardon me for highlighting their crippling and dangerous empathetic response with sarcasm, he says with finger quotes. It was a bad idea letting them go. And Bobby's like, yeah, right. You don't let Sam and Dean Winchesters do squat. They're going to do what they got to do. And he then moves on. It's like, okay, well, we need to get Eve. So we can stand here belly aching or we can go poke a pig till he squeals. And like Cass is like, I like that. Let's poke a pig. Pig in a poke. So we see like a very short scene of the kids being reunited with their uncle, and they're like super happy. And then Sam and Dean leave. It then goes back to the station, and the sheriff is saying, "Look, you know that she can see you, right? And you're just making her mad." And Bobby's like, "Well, come tell her to come get me. Like, if she's mad, come get me." Cass then says, "I need 5 minutes alone with him," and just sort of insists on that. And Bobby leaves, and he's like leaning against a desk and like having a shot from his flask. Cass then comes out with his hand, like I said earlier, his hand's all bloody, just like wiping it all off, and gives him the address of where Eve is.
Cass does the same action of like wiping his hands when he comes back from purgatory and gets all suited up again. I don't know, it made me think of that. It's the same action. Like Cass with his bloody hands and then Cass with his clean hands when he leaves purgatory. I don't know, there's something about that I quite liked.
It's almost like the same actor.
So at the station, Cass has somehow decapitated the sheriff, like with his bare hands, presumably. Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, did he just rip off his head? Like, that's grim. And Dean and Sam have re-emerged, and Dean just says, rigorous interrogation, which he's playing that off. Like, it's very, I don't know. It's not a very, like, I just had a whole thing where I talked about how they talk about the nuance of Dean and torture and how it's a big deal for him. And then he walks into a guy who's clearly had his head ripped off and he's like, hey.
Yeah, but I think it's more like, I don't know, there's something about that's kind of condescending about it too. Of like, you're above this, why did you do this?
Yeah, I think so. It's horrendous enough that you can only joke about it. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they have the location. They just got to get close enough to take the shot. They all take a shell, a like I said, they made 5, but there's 4 of them, and they all get a shell each. So where did the 5th shell go? I mean, basically, might as well have done. So they're out on the street at night, back outside that Irvin's Diner place, and they're like, seriously, this whole time. Sam says, like, well, why did she ever let us in or out? And Dean's like, well, there's only one way to find out. So the plan is that Sam and Dean are going to go in, and then in case anything happens to them, Bobby and Cass are back up to kill her. And Bobby's like, that's it? And Dean's like, yeah. And as they walk off, like, he says to Cass, well, at least it's not complicated.
Yeah, that's true. What I love is that they are bait again.
Right?
That's Dean's plan. I'm bait. You're bait. We're bait.
You can guess any plan that Dean's going to come up with. If you say, what's the plan? He's like, hey, guess I'm just going to go walk into danger. Like, there's no... He's not that good. He's not that good.
That's not a plan.
Using yourself as bait is not like the master plan you think it is. Like, it's every single plan.
Yep. Every single plan.
Stupid John Winchester.
Yeah.
So they go into the diner. There are a few people inside. Instead of going to the booth like they did earlier, they go to the bar. And, like, Sam looks around and, like, everybody's eyes are glowing. Like, everyone is a monster in here. Because Dean says, like, basically, like, now what? And Sam just says, like, well, everyone's a starship. Crap. Dean says,
Is there anybody in this diner that is not a flesh-eating monster?
Me and you.
kind of like that too. Sam's so sassy in this episode. He doesn't say a lot. Yeah. Everything he says is like filled with sarcasm. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, no, let's leave. And they kind of go to like get up. And a waitress puts down 2 specials for them. And it's Eve dressed in a waitress outfit, presumably like she was earlier. I guess this is the time to point out that Misha also wore this waitress outfit for Gish.
That outfit got passed around.
It did get passed around. I'm sure there's like a picture of him like running on a beach in that waitress outfit. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
We looked it up at the end of last episode.
Yes, we did. There's something about the way Eve talks. I don't know what she was kind of doing with her mouth, but she talks through her teeth. And I found it quite irritating. And I don't know why. And I'm sorry, because that might just be the way an actress speaks. So I don't really want to bring it up till now, but I do feel that.
I didn't notice that.
I don't know.
That's really funny.
So, she introduces herself and she's very, like, her hair is tied back. She looks like a waitress. Like, it's all, she's very, very demure. Very, am I going to do the thing? But that's the actual word.
Don't do the thing, but yes.
So Dean's like, why don't we step outside? And she's like, why? This is private. And the Jefferson Starships all close the blinds so they can't see outside anymore. One of them takes Dean's bag and like gets the guns out. She clocks, and then Eve clocks that they have Phoenix Ash, and she's like, wow, I bet you had to go a long way for that. And Dean just says, you have no idea. She hands over the guns to get destroyed, and then kind of like says, like, I'm not here to fight, it's all fine. Mm-hmm. They have this like, obviously Sam and Dean are very hostile towards her, especially Dean, because that's just who he is. You can't turn the anger tap off.
Just rally every freak on the planet. Bring in con worms and half-assed Spider-Men and dragons. Really, sister? Dragons?
And she just says, I dusted off some old classics, like I needed help. And then she does like the kind of villain monologue about why she's actually doing all these things. Yeah. So it turns out she was chilling, presumably in purgatory. But then like Crowley started kidnapping and torturing her children to get information. Even her firstborn, which I feel is probably the trigger, like them taking the alphas, really. Yeah. And she just says, I was pushed into this. A mother defends her children. And she's like, really? You're going to use Mother of the Year defense? And she says, well, it happens to be true. And like maybe if I looked a little more like this, and then she shifts into Samantha Smith / Mary Winchester. Which I kind of forgot, but also remembered. If that makes sense. Like, I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I personally don't understand this option, but okay. Well, I mean, it's mum issues, whatever. But I don't know. It's
just to mess with them. It's like the kids thing, right? She just seems to understand the things that like tick them off.
But the thing is, anytime somebody brings up Mary, it does the opposite for Dean. Like it annoys him, but it annoys him to the point of like
murder
and like clever anger. I know that's really weird to say, but like he's kind of already had this plan already, but like I don't know.
I was gonna say, had Sam heard Mary speak before? She didn't speak in Home. She was a silent ghost, right?
Yeah, she did.
Did she speak? She did speak.
No, she did.
Because I was going to say, this would be real harsh if this was the first time that Sam ever heard her voice.
She didn't speak to Sam, I don't think. I think she only spoke to Dean.
Yeah. I was thinking about this. Is this the first time? Because there was also this, and there was also the bit in heaven. So I think she maybe spoke then. I need to look back because I feel like this might be the first time that Sam has heard Mary's voice. But like, I feel like maybe she did speak.
As his mum, right? Because obviously they went back in time and heard her then, but that's kind of different.
Yeah, no, that's true actually. Okay. Because Dean just goes like, "Oh, you bitch! Like, how dare you do this?" And he says, "Well, she died to protect you, didn't she? Like, you understand a mother's love. I'm no different." And Dean's like, "You know what? This is over. Like, if you're gonna kill us, just kill us. Like, stop messing around."
Yeah.
And like his blasé-ness kind of makes sense, and like knowing what's gonna happen. Actually, is like, come on, try it.
Yeah, right.
So Eve wants Crowley dead. She doesn't want them dead. And Dean's like, but he's already dead. He's gone. And she's like, no, he's not dead. Which, yeah. And she's like, because she's basically seeing through her other monsters that Crowley is still torturing them. And Dean's like, okay, so he wants purgatory. That's why he's torturing them. And she's like, no, it's about the souls and their power. She goes on to explain that each soul is like, it's basically a nuclear reactor. Like, it has so much power. Like, when you put them all together, they're huge, like the sun. And like, think about what the King of Hell could do with all that power. So he wants to basically siphon off her supply from purgatory, and she's torturing her children in order to do it. And she's like, I don't want to play nice anymore. Like, I'll turn all of you, like, and then you'll all belong to me, essentially.
Right.
I quite like the line.
Let's see how hot as hell burns when everyone comes to me.
That was very good. Yeah.
Dean's like, yeah, but like, there's loads of humans. There's like, what are you going to do? And she's like, yeah, well, this is what I'm doing here. I'm trying to make something that's infectious to essentially turn people into monsters kind of passively. That she doesn't say in that many words, but that's what she's doing. She calls it beta testing. And like, her words and her actions are at odds, aren't they? Because she's like, I'm a caring, loving mother. And yet she calls like these unfortunate failures and beta testing, and like the fact that she's like, all these monsters have died in her trying to find like the perfect one. So
maybe my theory of like them going to hell or going to purgatory is not true. Like, they weren't truly monsters. I don't know. No, that doesn't make sense. Because I mean, I guess she's still being powered by them, right? Because if they're going to purgatory, she's getting power from it. The other issue as well with that, like, she is basically like Chuck in this moment. She thinks she's so much better, but she's exactly the same.
That's what I mean. All these ancient beings, they're all as petty as each other. Yeah. Which is why you feel like Crowley's a bit vindicated, because he's not one of them. And you're like, yeah, get your bit. Get your slice of the pie.
Exactly. Do you know what's so funny is that if they all stopped fighting each other, they could just destroy the earth. And like, what's Cass really going to do about it? Because there's only one against, like, you know.
I mean, that's the point, right? It's, there's so much infighting that nothing ever gets done. Just like everything. Everything ever. So Eve explains that, like, yes, there were unfortunate failures, but she eventually got it right. Quiet, smart, and inconspicuous. It could spread through a whole town in under a day.
Oh, and the best part? You've been with it the whole time.
What?
Yes, you were the final test. I had to see if it could slip past hunters undetected, of course.
And then she says, little Ryan. So yeah, it's like, and they're like, oh. And we cut back to Joe and Ryan's house, and like Joe looks dead. He's in a pool of blood, and his uncles are concerned for him. But then when he turns around, like, Ryan is there, like, creepy child with blood all on his face, and then he gets attacked. Yeah. And as he does, then Joe stands up, which is actually really creepy, actually, for Supernatural.
It is, yeah.
And they both kind of go after their uncle, and, like, there's blood splatter everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, on the family photo. She basically Azazled Ryan.
Yeah, she did. She did.
I kind of wish that we got the reaction. Again, there are so many parallels. I know I just made the joke that Ryan got Azazled, but they're so focused on Mary and Dean that you don't get to see the reaction of Sam and being like, because I don't know if they unintentionally made that connection or they did it intentionally, but like this would affect Sam just as much,
if not more,
because that was supposed to be him.
Yeah, like he was the blood freak.
So it's like he was the blood freak, right? He was the monster. He was supposed to be, you know, the leader of Hell's army and all this stuff. He was supposed to lead the way to the destruction of the earth. Same as Ryan.
He's a cuckoo, isn't he? Like, you know, where they replace the baby bird and then it pushes all the other birds out the nest. He's that. And that's what Ryan is. He's a cuckoo. Yeah. It's
so
yeah. And you're right. Where is Sam's reaction in this? Justice for Sam, because this was probably really hard. We only get Dean's reaction.
We only get Dean's reaction, and like we don't get any more, right? Like, again, had they done this earlier in the season, they could have grappled with this. Sorry, that, I mean, obviously, in the end, it doesn't. That's a problem, right? These are really interesting themes that go nowhere because they end in this episode.
Yeah. And it's like, you get these little flashes of like, you really understand these characters. Like you feel like sometimes you're like, yeah, you really get them. Like, I understand what you're doing. You really, and it's just cyclical and they see the same things happening over and over again to the same families and it's almost out of their control to stop it. And yet they keep trying because that's who they are. And it's just never really like, I don't know. It's
fleshed out. It's never, the spark of the idea is there, but like you said earlier, the execution's not there.
It's really frustrating to me. And that's what, right, I'm going to do it. I'm saying it. And that's why in the finale, we could have broken that cycle because we see it time and time again where they're trying to like futilely batter against this cycle that they're just not able to get out of. And then they finally defeat God and they're like, yeah, we can get out of this cycle of us like trying to save ourselves. Because that's what they're doing. Like every time they save a family, whatever, they're just trying to save themselves. And that's the whole point. Yep. And yet they just keep doing it and then they die. So, sorry, I was just like, it still makes me mad.
Exactly. All right. Well, we're back at the diner. And Eve's like, oh, you look upset. If it makes you feel better, Ryan was bound to work on you. Again, we've kind of already gone through this. You know, little wayward orphan like yourselves. There's nothing you could do about it. So let's talk. So she then she makes a proposal. You know, you give me Crowley. So this, I mean, it is the exact same proposal that Crowley gave to them to get Sam's soul.
So, here's the deal. You find him. Bring him to me. I let you live.
Pass.
Dean.
Sam, no. The answer is no.
And she's like, you think you have any other option? He's like, maybe I do, maybe I don't. And then the starships bring in Bobby and Cass and also destroy the guns. And he's like, well, so much for your plan B. And Eve then turns to Cass and says, and you, wondering why so flaccid? I'm older than you, Cass, which I thought was really cool. There was something about that was really cool. So that means the 10,000 year thing is not accurate.
Yeah. You're right.
And she says, I know what makes angels tick. As long as I'm around, consider yourself unplugged. She then turns back to Sam and Dean and she says, work for me. And, it's a good deal. And the bonus is I won't kill your friends. Dean then says, all right, look, last few months we've been working with an evil dick. We're not about to sign up to work for an evil bitch. We don't work with demons. We don't work with monsters. And if that means you've got to kill us, then kill us. And Eve is like behind Dean at this point, and she's like, or I turn you and you do what I say anyway. I do. Oh no, so she's actually in front of him at this point still. I do like this line from Dean. He says,
Beat me with a wire hanger, answer still no.
obviously like abortion joke.
It's a terrible joke. But like
it's kind of funny. It's kind of
very
dark.
dark.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she goes behind Dean, like grabs him and like tells him like not to test her. And he says, bite me. And then he does. Eve then like staggers back and is like coughing up stuff. This
was so drawn out. The flashes between them, how this was shot was so stupid. I loved it.
It was so stupid.
Cheesy.
It really was. So she staggers back, she starts coughing. Dean's like, Phoenix ass, 1 shell, 1 ounce of whiskey, down the hatch, little musty on the afterburn. Call you later, mum. Like, it's so then her chest starts to glow. She starts sweating, not even black goo, but like watered down black
sweaty goo.
She's got obviously she's got Dean's blood like coming out of her mouth and all that from where she bit him. And then like her facade of Mary falls away, so it's the original Eve again. And it flashes between a close-up of Dean, a close-up of her, close-up of Dean, close-up of her. And like it would make sense if it was still Mary, because it's like, oh, you're killing your mum and like look at what's happening, like you're killing your mum. But like it's this random girl that they don't know. And like it was just like,
Here's my theory.
Padding for
it was
time.
like they wanted to do a boss fight and they were like, oh, this needs to be epic because she's like a big bad. But then they were like, well, she's just coughing up goo. We have to make it more dramatic. It's almost like one of those like Bollywood dramas where they like slow it down and stuff. It's almost like that, honestly. It's so good. I did realise while I was watching this that no one did know about Dean's plan because everyone's reactions are kind of too good. Because they think that he's like just about to be like turned into a vampire and they're like, no! and even Sam's like, why aren't you taking the deal, Dean? This is a good deal.
And I mean, that was a long shot because we have not seen Eve bite anyone. She kissed people. She's touched people. She's never bitten anyone. So what makes him think that was ever going to happen? And obviously touch didn't do anything because she was able to touch his like shoulder.
That's so true. You shouldn't bite people because clearly you get Phoenix Ash herpes. Yeah, that was really bad. It was, I don't know. It felt really rushed. It felt really, I was watching this like, why are there so many flashes? It did feel like padding for time, but like, I think they were just trying to make it more dramatic because it was kind of lame.
Yeah.
Especially the sweaty black goo. That was like, gross.
I know. That was really bad. And like, because it was literally coming from like her hairline. Like, why? Why?
Who was it? Who was that politician that was like sweating his hair dye out?
Oh, Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's how
exactly
Eve died.
Like that, actually. Like, even the Phoenix had a better death than she did. That looked way cooler. Take some of that and put it in this.
There was also like no indication it would work because she was like very cool about taking the Phoenix ash off them. She was like, well, you know, you went a long way for that. She didn't say like, that would have worked too if you'd managed to get a shot. Do you know what I mean? Like, they usually make some kind of quip about that.
And I guess the problem is, like, I want to go back to watch Frontierland or whichever episode it was where they figure out that
it is Frontierland. Like, it literally goes like one episode.
Okay. Okay. So, like, I want to hear the wording again of how you are supposed to kill Eve this way, or the mother of all, whichever one it is. Because, like, was it literally like... Because if they shot her, would it have actually done anything? Or does she need to consume it? Because...
Right, okay. From a chemistry view here, right? Why would anything that he ate like that immediately go into his bloodstream? Is ash a soluble compound? No, it's definitely not. So what is the active ingredient in Phoenix ash that is solubilizing into Dean's blood in order to kill Eve? Because maybe they should just extract that. I don't know. Magic?
They needed a scientist.
They needed a scientist in the team is all I'm saying. This wouldn't have worked because there's nothing in the ash that would have got into his bloodstream, I don't think. It's wrong.
It's just ash. Yeah. Oh God, I didn't even think about it in that way either. I just kind of accepted it because it's supernatural. Like, it always seems to work out that way, that you take something supernatural-esque and it's in your system.
Does
like,
that mean that like magic is blood soluble? Like, it can go into your bloodstream if you, like, anything magical, if you eat it, just automatically goes into your blood? I mean, it would make sense in like the lore of magic and supernatural that happens because witches are all about the blood. So
I'll tell you what it actually was. He didn't actually have to do a shot of it. It was when he was like touching it on his skin, it got absorbed that way.
That would be so funny. I still maintain actually like a Phoenix ash enema may be more effective.
I mean, maybe. We'll never know.
Yeah. But yeah, she's dead. Bye, Eve.
She is dead.
And like, we never see her again.
Bye.
Do you know what else? I thought about this the other day. I'm very surprised we never see that actress at conventions. I feel like she would draw a crowd. I know she's only in 3 episodes.
Yeah.
But people have been to conventions for less.
This is true.
Are welcome.
Maybe she didn't enjoy being on the show.
I don't know.
So Cass has his powers back because she's now gone, and all the Jefferson starships start attacking them. And Cass says, "Shut your eyes!" and he does a light explosion, and they're all dead on the floor. Yay, Cass. Bobby's like, "We need to take him out on more hunts," which he said before because he's done the exact same thing before. But they never do. He's us.
Yeah,
Bobby
is us. Like, he's like, why don't we just take Cass everywhere? Come on.
Yeah. And Dean's like, Sam turns to Dean and is like,
Yes, Dean's bleeding pretty good.
I think she turned me into a Jefferson starship. Could you clear that up too?
Cass just touches his shoulder and he's
That also has wild implications. Could Cass have just cured Dean's vampirism? Like, just with a touch.
Clearly.
For goodness sake. Yep. Also, I do enjoy that Cass has to like touch Dean in order to heal him because I feel like you don't actually have to. I'm sure they show him later like healing people, not
just like waving his
touching
hand
them, but you know, he just gets that little like touched you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he did just do, like a supernova, so maybe he needed the extra.
Yeah, little reassurance.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Dean's like, okay, we're good, let's go. We need to go now.
The little kid, he's one of them.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I do. The line delivery.
It's so good. It's really good. I really enjoyed that.
It's like, God damn it, I freaking told you.
You know he wanted to say, I told you so. Like, it was brewing in there so bad.
It was. Because even Dean's like, yeah, I know, Cass, you told me. All right, let's go. Like, I'm not going to let you have that. And like, Cass does like shake his head in disbelief, and like they do. I hope what happens, because there's a little bit of an extended shot of seeing the empty shell on the bar. I hope that leads to something, because it doesn't lead to anything in this episode, but it should, because there is such a focus on it. And if there isn't a focus on it, or if it amounts to nothing, which it probably will, because it is supernatural.
Go anywhere, but yes.
I'm like, well, why?
It's just showing how smart Dean is. Like, this is what won the day. This is the object that beat the boss. Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. Like okay, another thing that bugged me is like, show Dean taking a drink. Because you see him drinking all the time, right? So like, it could literally be like, here's one for the road. This is really bad. Don't do this. But he could have put bits of the ashes in each of everybody's drink and be like, hey, one for the road, let's go. And like, if any of them got bit, then they would have all been fine.
But then what's the dosage of Phoenix ash? Maybe he needed a whole shotgun shell to get a whole dose in order for it to go into his blood. Look, it's going to annoy me.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay, fair enough. But at least I would have liked to have seen him do it, like take a shot or something. I agree. Yeah. And so it ties back to showing this empty shell. I was like, okay, but he already told us what his plan was. Like, anyway. Moving on. We've already been here for 2 hours and 15 minutes. So they get to the uncle's house and he's dead on the floor. And Dean's like, so we killed the Wicked Witch and she still wins. And like, because they can't find the kids anywhere. Cass is about to say something and he's like, don't say it. Bobby's walking around trying to find the kids. He opens like a door to the basement and you see the bodies of the two boys. They go over and they're like, well, who killed them? And Sam bends down to touch the sulfur. Again, why are you touching sulfur with your bare hands?
Finger condoms. I tell you, it would have solved them so many issues. I'm suggesting it next time.
Yeah.
You're right, definitely. When they reboot Supernatural, I'm going to write and be like, look, I think Sam and Dean should use finger condoms because they touch too much gross stuff. And I feel like it's more realistic.
Yeah, exactly.
They're still in the house, right? They're still in the house for this final scene, the uncle's house. I think so.
I don't recall.
Like a weird place. I think they are.
Yeah.
It's in a house, but it could be anywhere. So Sam's like, what do you think? And Dean says, well, I think that demons don't give a crap about monsters unless they're told to. So Sam's like, well, maybe she was telling the truth.
The truth about what? She said the Crowley's still kicking.
So because obviously Bobby and Cass didn't hear that part of the conversation immediately, right? But they would have heard the end bit of like them trying to make a deal. Well, her trying to make a deal with them, I think. Yeah. Anyway.
Because she says work for me. She doesn't say what
yeah,
the work
that's
is.
true. So they wouldn't have known the specifics about that. And Cass is such a bad lie. He's like, I burned his bones. How because he's going to say something else, but he's like, was she certain? The thing that he was going to say was, how could she have known, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
And he's like, well, according to her, Crowley's still waterboarding her kids somewhere. Again, Cass doesn't understand, and Dean's just like, the thing is, Dean's chalking it up to like Crowley just being crafty. Like he's always one step ahead.
Yep. And also, Dean doesn't want to believe Cass's lies. He wants to believe that Cass is telling the truth.
And Cass says, oh, I'm an angel. I'll look into it immediately, and leaves. Like, it just disappears. And then, Bobby and Sam basically, run an intervention on Dean. I think... I was saying before about, Cass not really being their friend. I do think that he's in the family box for Dean, but he's like not quite in there. He's got like one foot in the family box because he's a
cousin.
At this point, he's a little bit there because for Dean, Cass is a bit of a blind spot. And Bobby and Sam have been keeping an eye on him this whole case and been like, he's super weird. They didn't address it with him, but they're like, they basically turn on Dean as like, Cass is being weird.
And I mean, it kind of mirrors the beginning of this episode where they turn to Dean to call Cass. And that's because they know that Cass only responds to Dean because he doesn't want to deal with anybody else.
Yeah. And yet they didn't want us to read into this at all, you know, the fact that they have like a more profound relationship than anybody else. And like apparently Dean's the only one who can manage to contact Cass, and he also that he's the only one who couldn't see that Cass was acting really weird because he maybe didn't want to see it because he like idolizes Cass slightly. I don't know. It's very So they kind of
it's almost like you know, when you get your first boyfriend and your friends don't really like him, but they can't
say that to you because you're friends. So Dean's like, what? And Bobby's like, well, you know, how did Crowley get away? Like, it's not like Cass to make mistakes like that unless and he's like, unless he meant to. And he says, Bobby, this is Cass we're talking about. Like, and then he turns to Sam and he's like, do you believe this? Like, come on, it's Cass. And Sam's just like, well, you know, it's probably nothing, but like, and then he looks again at Dean and like Dean's looking kind of pissed. He's like, oh, yeah, it's probably nothing. Like, there's a look that passes between them where Sam decides that he's kind of just going to like drop it for now, I think. Yeah, which is interesting, I feel.
Do you think Sam is remembering some bits and that's why he's like, I don't know if I really trust Cass because we're going to find out why in the next episode. You know, they didn't get it's Cass's fault for Sam's soullessness.
I don't know if Sam ever remembers that. It's a good, I think it's more that it's upsetting Dean on what's already been like a bad day, right? Because the kids got killed.
Yeah.
And like for now, there's nothing they can do about it. I think it's more that. I think Sam thinks something's up with Cass too, because him and you know that while like Dean and Cass were off doing stuff, Sam and Bobby were like gossiping about them. Like, don't you think Cass is acting weird? They're like, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I find it interesting that Bobby also immediately believes that Crowley is alive because he says, how did Crowley get away? Not like, are we sure we believe Eve? Like, could she not be lying? But it's instant like, no, how did he get away? But like you
said, but Bobby takes the most notice of Cass, right? Yeah. And he's also seen him like completely exhaust himself during like the war effort while they were in Frontierland. He saw him like basically pass out because of that and get hurt. So he knows the stakes for Cass. So probably understands that maybe there is something more going on to this. Like, Bobby's not a stupid guy. You know?
No. Of everybody, he is not.
So I'm sure he's already kind of got an inkling of what Cass's motivations might be and is kind of putting it all together. I just feel that of Bobby. Whereas I think Sam's kind of got a suspicion, but he's not quite put it all together yet. And then Dean's completely clueless.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. So that Bobby and Cass weren't there when Eve was talking about how it's about the souls.
I don't think so. So yeah,
because that was
before they were brought in, so they don't know that yet. I mean, I'm sure they feel Bobby into all this stuff because he just seems to have this knowledge later on.
Yeah,
I did say Dean's clueless. I didn't actually think Dean's clueless. I think he's noticed as well. I just think he wants to believe it, if that makes sense. Which is why they're having to that does. Talk to him. Yeah, intervention.
Yeah.
This is about your boyfriend, Dean. He's been acting whack. He's clearly not himself. We don't feel like this is a healthy relationship. So back at the diner, I thought this was quite good that they played a Jefferson Starship song. Like, yeah.
Yep.
The earliest other song I know by Jefferson Starship is, I'm sure it's by them. You know, that Alice song. Do, 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 do. That's by Jefferson Starship, right?
Is that... It is? No, I thought it was somebody else, but I could very well be wrong.
Sure. Yeah, the White Rabbit song, you know, one pill makes you... Yeah, that's Jefferson Starship.
Mm-hmm. I've got that song instantly in my brain.
Yeah, it plays a different song. It's Miracles by Jefferson Starship. And we see, the back of the diner with all the dead bodies around, and Cass walks in and he's just like looking, like surveying what he has done, apart from Eve. He didn't kill Eve. Mm-hmm. And then Crowley is there, and he just says,
"This is getting ridiculous. How many times am I going to have to clean up your messes?"
And the episode ends. And that was the best bit.
Oh, Crowley really is alive. Oh,
who could have foreseen this? Yeah.
Who knows?
So, yeah. It's a good setup for the next episode, I think, like to lead into it. I just wish it was at the mid-season finale rather than like nearly at the end of the season.
Yeah, like they didn't have to draw out Sam getting his soul back. Like I don't feel like that's playing into anything right now. Like now he's not soulless anymore. It's just like we'll just forgive everything, every horrendous thing he ever did.
Sam's soulless longer than Dean ends up being a demon? Because I feel like he is. Yeah, me too.
I think so. Yep. I think so.
It annoys me.
Yeah. So that was that episode. I don't really have much to say about this conclusion of the episode. I do feel like talking it through, I have a bit more of a appreciation of this episode, though I probably won't. I know you said this at the beginning, but it probably would be something that I would watch back to back with the next episode.
I think that's the way to watch it. Because, I was saying that the writers didn't do a very good job, but they did kind of try and pull the rug out. I do appreciate the effort of like trying to get that like rug pull. Because I enjoy that in a TV show where you're like, yes, this like wasn't what I expected it to be. Like I really enjoy that. And like I don't feel like I did get that the first time I watched this at all. I just accepted it. I was like, oh, okay. But I think setting up Eve as a red herring is a good idea. Like having this plot about the monsters actually kind of not really meaning anything at the end. It's kind of interesting way to go. And then to kind of, subvert it and have Cass and Crowley as like the end bosses of the season, where previously they were working together, especially Cass, of course, who is like worked with them through the whole apocalypse, is interesting too. I mean, we kind of know now that it was a way to try and kill off Cass that failed because everyone was like, no, you don't get to kill him off. Which is funny to me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you look at it in that perspective, like, it's quite interesting that they tried to kill off, like, they tried to corrupt a beloved character.
Yeah, they did. They really did that.
Like, you don't do that. You don't do
you give them a really sad ending and everyone's going to cry, you know, and be like, no, it was really sad. And they go, no, sorry, their death was final.
Yeah, because his redemption comes in season 7.
Because of the letter writing campaign. That's the only reason that Cass was still on the show. So a lot's going to happen in the next, like, 3 episodes. It's a lot.
It's so much. I think that's why I'm so confused.
Happens.
It's too much. Too much. And Lisa and Ben comes back in there somewhere as well.
Right. Because I think in my brain, like, all these things have to happen before the end of season 6, and I'm like, but there's not enough time for all of these things to happen. So some of them must happen in season 7. Oh well, whatever. We'll find out. Find out next week if we were right or wrong about what happens in season 6 again. No. Yeah. Anyway, so the next episode is The Man Who Would Be King. It's great.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite episodes of all time. Ben Edlund writes it.
Well, of course it is. And he directed it.
And it's amazing. And I love it. And it's just, Yes. Can't wait. Cannot wait. It'd probably be a really short episode, so let's go. This was great, and that'll be the end of the review.
Perfect. I love it. We'll do that. And also, I will not talk the entire episode and let you just do the whole
No, you're going to want
thing.
to. It's going to be great. It's going to be bang on. Yes.
I'm excited. I'm very, very excited for it. So yeah, that is amazing. And I'm very excited for it. And I think, do you have anything else you wanted to add to the episode?
I feel like I said it
do you think you got most of
when
it?
we talked about it. Yeah. I'm not going to miss Eve. I don't think she was a very good bad guy. She had potential, but then she died. So
yeah,
she
did. Well, that's so sorry to say. She had it's crazy for a character that had probably collectively half an hour.
I know
to have so much potential.
I like the Alpha and stuff. They're barely ever mentioned again, really, apart from that like backdoor pilot they tried to do.
The vampire.
Because someone was like, wait, that was...
Is it only in that one?
Maybe there's some later on, but I feel like that's the main one. I feel like someone was like, watch Supernatural. I'm like, wait, this was a cool idea we never did anything with. Let's make a pilot that never kind of went anywhere. Which I'm kind of glad about.
Yeah. I'm so looking forward to when we get to those backdoor pilot episodes because they are so random.
That's so strange. Yeah, me too.
They're going to be great to go through. Anyway, so at the end of the episode, we'd like to thank the Pixel Agora for his amazing logo art. And if you'd like to get that on a sticker or a coaster or something, you can on our Redbubble store. And if you'd like to come talk to us about how much is going to happen in the next 3 episodes, because it's a lot. We were trying to figure out what it was, but we're all very confused. You can do that on our socials. We are all over them every day, like this. We got to do at least one, right? We're on Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter as Escaping Purgatory Podcast, or Twitter is Escaping Podcast. So yeah, come say hi.
And this week, we went to a small town diner and had us some pie. But when we cut into it, it was just full of black goo. So hopefully next time, we can finally find our way out. Bye!
Bye!
Silly. Oh my gosh, that was so